So, video blog. Down here in Rosemont, there's the Rose and the Mont, and then the big Rose is over here on the water tower. You know, water towers, they use that to create pressure in the system. Now, the spacing of the towers is interesting, but again, I don't know about the engineering in Rosemont. So what I'm down here for is the AAOS. That's the American something. Anyways, they implant devices in people. But anyways, the Rosemont Donald A. Stevenson gets Exotica. So it becomes the adult industry capital of the United States for a week. But I wonder, when you get these adult conventions in, what are the rules in the hotel rooms? Truly, what are the rules in the hotel rooms? Like, no orgies? No shooting of, adult film. You got to get permission to shoot a film in a hotel, just to let you know. And if you're doing Airbnb in that, you have to get permission. It's a separate type of permission. There was a lady who rented her Airbnb, and they shot an adult entertainment film on her property, and she found out and freaked out. They didn't get permission. They didn't tell her they were going to use her beachfront house to shoot adult entertainment. They just rented the Airbnb and shot the movie in her house. It's a totally separate type of permitting from the village, and it's a separate type of approval from the property owner. So when it comes in, do they give them like a do's and don'ts that they worked out with the association that's putting on the function, that it tells its members what is appropriate, attire? Truly, what is appropriate attire in public? What is the dress code on and off property, meaning outside the convention area because they'll have certain displays, and then truly, and is the convention adult only, like 21 and up? What is the disclaimers that go in? Because, it's a very graphic industry. So it's different. Like in the adult entertainment industry in Japan, the private sections of males and females are blacked out. Yeah, in Japan, you can't see the private sections. They blur them. That's Japan's adult entertainment industry. It's more conservative. You can't see it like here in the United States. They have different rules. So you got the American Beauty. The American Beauty show's coming. So I would assume that's for, all the hairdressers. But again, the hairdressers work in movies and adult entertainment, movies. They work in photo shoots. There's many different ways. Hairdressers work supporting many different industries, is my point. So, again, if you're in a hairdresser show, you got the different industries. Even military, knowing the different haircuts for different military personnel, and you can specialize in different military haircuts. Truly. So, I don't know. Initially, they give you a cut, and then after that, you have to maintain it. So, again, all tailgaters should burn in hell. So, be a friend of mine, and if you don't support anti-tailgating legislation, then you're not my friend. And if you don't want to lock up tailgaters and give them incredibly stiff penalties, you're no fucking friend of mine. Let's get that clear. You want to be a friend of mine? You hate the fucking tailgaters. And if you don't hate their fucking guts, you're no friend of mine. And no friend of mine means after death, you're nowhere fucking near me. And the farthest away from place is hell. Extortion, they're harassing the shit out of me. It's called self-defense. You can take stances, and people take stances when people are violating their rights on a consistent everyday basis. So, again, I used to come down here for a Ministaff before they changed their name. And what did they used to do? They get your group benefits, but how did they get it? Through the property casualty insurance. And what did they do horribly? They horribly managed their property casualty. Why did everybody go to them initially? Because they had economies of scale. They aggregated, so they had cheaper property casualty rates. So what happened to them? Adverse selection. Since they were, unchoosy in the people they took in. And I watched this at Mutual of Omaha, and you don't understand this, but we create these sleeves for Mutual of Omaha, create sleeves for Medicare supplements. And sleeves you need underwriting to get into. And so you get in when you're healthy, right? You qualify. And then what happens is people start getting unhealthy. And when they get unhealthy, the rate of the sleeve starts going up. The only way you can mitigate that is to get cost efficiencies. How do you get cost efficiencies? Health maintenance. Getting people to stop getting sicker. But it's harder because they do it with seniors. And so it's harder to get seniors to mitigate their health situation. And this is where you think no one screws no one. Everybody can do what they want to do. And that's fine. I understand. And you're under it. You can go out, drink yourself to oblivion, go out, eat yourself to oblivion, whatever. It's free will. Well, you don't understand what I see. And this goes for China or India or others. And what happens in these sleeves, all of a sudden prices start going up. And what happens? Adverse selection. What is adverse selection? It is those that can't get out, get stuck, and they absorb all the prices. It's like having bad credit. And when the market goes south, they push up the interest rates. And because you have bad credit, you're stuck in the increasing interest rates cycle. Remember, it's a variable cycle. It's a variable cycle. Another tailgater. And from a foreign state. So you bring them in and you prosecute them to the shit. I'm going to throw a ticket at tailgating, aggravated driving, assault, battery. Boom, 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 boom. And you load them up. Truly, pieces of garbage. America accepts all this garbage. And you're like, oh, it's okay. Well, now I'm moving off the insurance. Why were those neighborhoods turned bad in New York and everything? Do you know Wrigleyville? In the 1970s and that, when John Darden, he bought in properties dirt cheap. Why? Because the neighbors didn't give a shit. The community watches, McGruff and everything else, they weren't there. The neighbors didn't report crimes. They turned a blind eye. And they did. So Wrigleyville was a shithole. Sox Park actually was better to go to. Bill Vack was doing all kinds of things. It was more entertaining. And so Wrigley, the Cubs were struggling somewhat in the 70s because the neighborhood was bad. So what happened? People started caring. And they started calling in cops. And then they started demanding neighborhood watches and everything. It's the same thing that happened in New York with the guardian angels. People started caring. And they wouldn't put up with it. They said, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. And they started calling. And they started locking people up left and right. And the bad guys got scared. And they left. Because the people said, we're not going to take it anymore. You know those signs that says, if we see any crime, we report it? Not talking just about their house. They say, the neighbors say, we see any crime, the neighborhood reports it. That's what the Neighborhood Watch program says. Any crime is seen, it's automatically called in to the police. And so what happened? They stopped doing what they did in the ghettos where the bad guy, they were scared of the bad guy. They didn't turn state's evidence against them. They kept their mouths shut. Well, the mafia and that loses their power when people are willing to go to trial. And if bad things happen, they don't stop going to trial. Everybody follows up and they lose. That's why terrorists do bombings. The barracks in Lebanon. What do you think they did the explosion? They wanted pull out. What do you think they wanted 9/11 to be? Bin Laden miscalculated. He wanted us to pull our military troops out of the Middle East. He wanted us to go down. He watched what they did in Lebanon when they bombed the barracks. We pulled all the troops out, left Lebanon and many other places. He watched what happened in Vietnam. We cut and run. We didn't used to do that in Korea. We stayed. World War I, World War II, we learned the difference. World War I, we left. World War II, we stayed. Korea, we stayed. Then we became a society of cutting and running again. And the Korean War was the explosion of terrorism. Domestic terrorism exploded. And then international terrorism exploded. Because what did they say? You only need to scare them. That's why ISIS, before ISIS, I forget the group, started cutting off the heads. And the U.S. withdrew troops. And got scared and cut and run. And everybody clamored inside the border. That's what they wanted, everything to move away from them so they could grow. What you do, as the adage is correct, they killed one of you, you killed 20 of them. It's a numbers game. It always comes down, but attrition. See, when you cut and run, it doesn't work. The attrition doesn't work. So Vietnam, as you can go into a guy, he's in California, he's one of the world-class negotiator. He negotiates terrorist action. And Ho Chi Minh, when he sat down at the table, when he was negotiating the North Vietnamese, they weren't going anywhere. America, because of Nixon and Watergate and everything else, you don't think Ho Chi Minh watches the news? Are you stupid? He understood, and this guy, Donaldson, I forget whatever, he said they came to the table, they weren't going anywhere. They live in North Vietnam. They were in Laos and Cambodia as well. They're not going anywhere. There's no pulling out or withdrawing. See, you don't understand. They live there. They're not going fucking anywhere. So when they sit at the table, they're playing the long game. They just waited for the internal pressure, the anti-Vietnam protests and everything, and they just waited. And then they got a favor with Watergate, with Nixon. And that was a master for them, and they saw it, and they're like, now we have the cards. Truly. Now it's our game. And he said this. They had all the leverage in the world. So when we cut the deal with the North Vietnamese, it didn't stick. We didn't get reassurances, and there was no way for us to enforce. Unlike we had the no-fly zones in Iraq, and if they flew, we shoot them down. We stayed. But Obama pulled us out. But getting back to Ho Chi Minh, what did he do? He saw that Nixon was under so much domestic pressure, or they wait for our president to change. Ho Chi Minh wasn't going anywhere. He was anchored. Ma in China, it was the same thing. He was just waiting for the U.S. to pull its back from Park and the others, and they did, and they fled to Taiwan. But he was playing the long game. That's what Castro did as well. He was waiting for the Americans to start protesting, to be worn down, and don't want to do the war anymore. And so they know it. They live there. That's what Bin Laden did too. He played the long game. Americans are so fucking dumb. God plays the long game. You attack me, you're fucking done. I play the long game. I don't care about your proxy wars. You're going to burn in fucking hell. You're going to fry so bad for so fucking long, I'll be laughing for eternity and spitting and pissing on you forever. But I'm good with that. So, I play the long game. So, I'm not playing a short game. My stance here carries through death. So, I'm not playing a short game. I don't blow with the wind. But what did Ho Chi Minh learn? Nixon, under pressure. All the protesting. He watched Lyndon Johnson under pressure. All the protesting. Lyndon Johnson didn't get renewed. Cabinet changes. Instability in war plans. Oh, instability in war plans. No cohesion. It went from JFK, who they got lucky again. He got assassinated. Oh, it was all in their favor. JFK put us there with advisors and everything else. But the whole strategy changed when JFK got assassinated. Now Lyndon B. Johnson, new cabinet, new strategy. And then, lo and behold, Lyndon B. Johnson gets so much bad, he has to step out. Lo and behold, Nixon. New strategy, so on and so forth. No cohesion. So the military generals get it from the politicians that tell them how to run the fucking war. And that's the problem in America. That's why we have agencies like the SAC and others that we appoint, like the Federal Reserve. We don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat, like supporting to the Supreme Court. They're not going fucking anywhere. The reason is they don't get powered by the politicians. Once they're appointed, you can't fucking touch them. They have to do their job. They can't have political pressure placed upon them. They must be free of political pressure. Judge Roberts voted for, he's a Republican, but he violated as an activist judge. That's why I thought he was supposed to be removed, because actually he violated what the Supreme Court was to do. They're not supposed to make law. They're supposed to only interpret law. Judge Roberts made law. That's what Scalito talked about. He was a Supreme Court, God rest his soul. He said you can't be an activist judge. You can write a brief and tell them where they're failing and why you ruled your way, but you can't create law. Roberts created law. He should have been removed as the Supreme Court, head of the Supreme Court. You cannot create law. That is for Congress. And then the president has executive orders. Only Congress can create law or modify law. The Supreme Court cannot. And so Scalito hated them. He was Supreme Court Justice, and he hated what the court was doing. And he died duck hunting, I think duck hunting and that. So he went game hunting, Scalito. And he used to go by himself to get away, to decompress. But no one checked his heart, and he had a heart attack and died. And I thought America lost a great person. Why the hell weren't they making sure he was staying in good health? But getting back to Ho Chi Minh and that, and Castro, and the Shah of Iran, they knew eventually they stay on the path. Our support for the royal family in Iran would crumble. And it did. And what happened? They won. They won in China. They won in Cuba. They won in Vietnam. They didn't win in North Korea because we never pulled out. We created South Korea, and we stayed there, not going any fucking where. The reason why Germany didn't turn back and Japan didn't turn back, we stayed there. We didn't go anywhere. We're in Germany. My friend Brad, who I work with at Platinum Wealth over here, he was stationed in Germany at a U.S. military base. You know, when they fly him back from the Middle East and they have him get checked out, they go to the military base in Germany, the hospital at the military base in Germany, if you've ever watched anything on the news. The problem with democracy is everybody else is playing a long fucking game. The president of China doesn't have term limits. The Democrats put in term limits. The founding fathers did not put in term limits. They didn't care if somebody was a president for life. They asked Washington to stay on until he was dead. They wanted continuity in government. We don't have continuity in government. They play the long game. They know the president's out, even if it's a change of Democrats, a new cabinet is coming in. And that changes the agenda. And that changes the military tactics. And they wait for the weak moment. The change in tactics opens up avenues. And they take advantage of them. And so they constantly take advantage. The one thing that was good about Mayor Daley was there was consistency. And if Mayor Daley wanted something done, like Meigs Field, it was done. He didn't care. He was going to get reelected. So he went out in the middle of the night, and I'm sorry, but I agree with his Meigs Field. Why did he do it? That was big planes. He was worried about small planes flying into a building. So the court was saying, well, you can't do this because of property rights and so on and so forth. And Mayor Daley told the courts to go fuck themselves. He didn't care if they were in the rule. Sue me. And he went in with the machines in the middle of the night and he tore up the runways. Everybody in Chicago should be thankful. Do you know? You don't know, but I have several different, numerous attempts. Sears Tower, bridges, other attempts, north and west, to blow up shit in Chicago. It didn't happen, but they tried. But Mayor Daley, he didn't play around. That's one thing. It was good about him that he didn't care. Right makes might. So he didn't care about the court willy-dilling around and lawyers playing politics, which they were. He wanted to protect the citizens of Chicago, so he closed Meigs Field. He tore up the runways, and that was it. No planes taking off, no planes landing. Done deal. So he did the right thing. You play politics. God doesn't play politics. Read scripture. Right makes might. Not might makes right. So, I'm one person, but the righteous man has nothing to fear in God. I have his full support. So, I don't give a shit what you think. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is why I do these videos. Kind of like I watch on Disney. And, you know, the little caricature she does about the mayor. And we're talking about, you know, Daredevil. And the girl who's wearing, the suit of the mayor. And she does the things mocking him with different cuts. Well, I'm mocking your stupidity. So, I studied as much as I could get my hands on since I've been a child. Be the weapon. Analyze. And I ate up every war film, every bit of everything of conflict, studying martial arts, studying combat, eating it all up. So, I understand why they win and why we lose. Our weakness is in regime turnover. Their strength is in continuity. So everybody wants a vote and they want to elect somebody and they're not happy. Write your politician. Go out there and canvass and get signatures and put up a referendum. But if you get a good person in office, whether you agree with him or not, and Larry Kudlow says this, he worked, you go with the president. You might not like, might not agree, but we have to have continuity. That's what they watch for, the inconsistencies in support. And I understand voting and politicians and that, but the thing is, they have continuity. They have determination. They have willpower. We blow with the wind. So Ho Chi Minh knew this, and I forget his name. But anyways, he talks about it. You have to read about these negotiations. I read about all the different negotiations. And he's playing the long game. I'm not going anywhere, and I'll just keep on throwing people at the problem. And that's what he would do. So we cut and ran. And what did we do? We cut a deal that's weak. And so we signed a peace treaty with North Vietnam. And what happened? Several weeks after we left, they invaded South Vietnam. What peace treaty? It wasn't. It was, they gave us time to withdraw. And we withdrew so fast, we were pushing stuff off aircraft carriers. We bring it in with helicopters, put it down on the aircraft carrier, and push it into the ocean. Fuel, oil, everything. Just push it overboard. Because we had so much equipment, we didn't want to leave it behind. So we dumped it in the ocean. The ocean is not a garbage dump. Go ahead, grab the footage. You'll see them pushing helicopters, pushing jeeps, pushing, troop carriers right off the freaking deck, right into the freaking ocean. We couldn't get out of there fast enough. Why were we in such a run? Why were we withdrawing so fast? If they thought it was a solid peace treaty, why were we in such a hurry to get out? Why wouldn't we stick around after the peace treaty, train the South Vietnamese military, build them up, build up the defense system, stick around for a little bit? Why were we so fast to get out? Because of the hippies and that protesting and Nixon being impeached. And so we cut and run. And several weeks after the peace treaty was signed, North Vietnam invaded South Vietnam, and they slaughtered them. You know what they were doing into their peace? As we were pulling out, what was North Vietnam doing? Massing troops in Cambodia and Laos and in North Vietnam. They were massing massive amounts of troops, preparing them. And once we were gone, there's a few week delay or so, and then they invaded with a huge fucking army that was just waiting, making sure we didn't have any air support or anything that we could do. Our carrier task force were gone. All of our air support was gone. Heavy bombers weren't coming for South Vietnam. All support was withdrawn. And it was a bloodshed. And then they went in throwing babies on spears, and they were, to terrify the South Vietnamese. And go ahead, it's well documented. They threw babies in the air and caught them on the ends of bayonets. South Vietnamese babies. And they bayoneted them. They took all the leadership and rolled them out and basically killed them. All the educators, they rolled them out, they killed them. It was a slaughter unbelievable. Why do you think 400,000 people fled to the ocean and large majority of them drowned to death? It was an unbelievable humanitarian crisis. Why didn't the United States send in peacekeepers? Right? We signed a peace treaty. Why didn't the UN march in peacekeepers? We don't withdraw until the peacekeepers are in place. Why didn't they put in peacekeepers? We had them back in the Korean War. Why didn't we put them in Vietnam? We signed a peace accord. Now we put in UN peacekeepers. So it becomes a multinational force made up of the Security Council. All the members contribute troops, ships, and aircraft, and helicopters, and medical, and everything else, and put them in. Why didn't we do that? It's only logical, but everybody wants to politic. And you don't understand, regime change is not a good thing. So an educated voter base, but how can you get an educated voter base when what happens? You bring in so much immigration, you flood the system, you have very little multi-generational families, they don't grow up watching and understanding and educated from their parents. Do they educate you in school on how to vote? Does any of the schools? I would start from elementary school, teaching them how to break down a candidate, how to vote, how to express your opinion correctly. And then I would reinforce it. I had to take the constitutional test, but again, they didn't teach me anything about breaking down local politicians, county, state, federal. Truly. They didn't teach me about referendums or any other form. I learned a lot when I worked for John McCain. But I would start early and keep it often, teaching them to be sophisticated voters. You want democracy, freedom takes highly educated individuals that are very sophisticated in their knowledge base to make proper decisions. If you want the masses, then the masses have to be highly informed. So if you're going to stick with democracy, then the masses can't be asses. So you have to do voter education. Why don't they do it in church? For seniors and that. Have the politicians come in. Make their case to the congregation. Have the pastor stand up there and break down things. All he's doing is educating you. You're not picking a side. The pastor is agnostic. But he does stand for the church, but he defines. This is exactly how we go as Lutherans or Catholics or Presbyterians or Willow Creek as independents. Bill Clinton flew in to Willow Creek because it was so important. But get them to throw their agenda and get the congregation up to speed so they can make educated decisions. And the pastor tells them how the Bible sees it. But we're not in the pew with you. That's on you. But the pastor has to stand up for God and has to tell it how it is, biblically, and make a clarification. As a representative of the Holy Father, this is how we see it through Scripture. And this is what the candidates are proposing. And this is how the other side feels, the non-Scripture side. You need to give both sides. How you vote is up to you. One to a box. Ultimate judgment on you. We're not in the booth with you. But you have to educate them, and you have to give the church's position. So again, you can't have great turnover in a democracy. People have to be highly informed. When people move around the nation and they go here and there and they're always flipping houses, moving to other states and everything, that doesn't work for a democracy. You can't have heavy churn. So there's multiple lanes. Tailgating piece of shit. You can't have heavy churn in a democracy. Here, I'll flip it. So I'm going through the airport for privacy. You can't have heavy churn in a democracy. If you have mass migration like they did out of California into Texas, when you're moving tens of thousands of people, that churns the voter base. And the new people have no fucking idea of the history of politics. And when they move in, do they get informed on the history? Do they get up to speed on the issues? Because when they move into your neighborhood, into your community, they're going to make an informed decision that's going to influence the way the vote turns out and what gets approved and what doesn't get approved. So make no mistake about that. What you sow is what you reap. And yes, My Hood, My Block. That's a good program in the black community. Taking responsibility like McGruff Crime Watch and others. Taking responsibility for your area. So, I don't get it. You have to understand, you can't go in. I learned this a long time ago. And people think, oh, well, you can be ignorant. You can't be ignorant. If you're going to have capitalism with democracy, these things, you have to be highly informed. So people need to be highly informed, highly aware of the issues. They can't put their head in the sand. So they have to be informed. But they have to teach kids coming up on how to vote. They never did that in my constitutional class in high school. And I scored excellent on the constitutional test. And then I took more constitutional stuff in college. And I worked for a senator. And I worked for different campaigns. And I was part of the Young Republicans. And I started the Young Republicans at the University of Arizona. Yeah, I was a founding member starting the Young Republicans. Also, not my idea, Young Republicans, my idea. The other idea was boxing, Larry Lentz. I founded it with him. And my roommate Dominic actually was part of the boxing club. He went later. I was no longer in part of it. Larry has a boxing gym here in Illinois. So, again, we get cars flying up on you. The long game. What are you threatening my life? Because that's assault and battery. So, really, isn't it what they did to the Republicans? Remember the boss, when she was going into a meeting somewhere and they chased her down the street? Remember the other Republican in the restaurant? I posted this on my stuff, eating in the restaurant, and they attacked her at the table. They chased Betsy, I think it's Betsy the boss, the billionaire. They chased her down the freaking street. And then the other female, who is a Republican, was going to speak at Cal Berkeley or something, and they blocked her ability to speak. The Democrats, who are for free speech, they chase the Republicans. They terrorize the Republicans. Isn't that what you do to me in Chicago? Like this guy, assault and battery. You don't have to hit me, you just have to threaten me. So again, you just turn a blind eye to everything. And I just document you're turning the blind eye on my expression on my videos. Nothing's a lie. My temperament changes with their tailgating and threatening to hit me with their vehicles. Some reason the back end of my car is always assaulted on a continuous basis. So they get away with it. So again, I'll position the camera. From now on, I won't show the front view. I'll just show the rear view. How about that? We'll just go with... So I can drive around and watch the proximity of the lights and how fast the lights approach me. Remember, when you're watching the video, watch the seconds. And remember the 3-second rule. 1 second, 1 car length per 10 miles an hour. So when I pass something, and you will see, when I pass something, count. I'm passing this sign. 1,000. Look, they violated it. They were supposed to be 2 car lengths behind. At 30 miles an hour, 3 car lengths. At 40 miles an hour, 4 car lengths. Sign 1,000, 2,000. Oh, nope, they passed it. They're supposed to be 3 car lengths behind. So these are all tickets. I published it out there in the video. I posted it. These are all tickets. Here, I'm at Potbelly. And right in front of me, and up, I gave my information and protested. A cop caused an accident. He was working for the Donald E. Stevens. It was a wet, icy day. And he told traffic to halt on the street I'm on, and told the traffic from the parking lot to turn right and left. And then he stopped that right and left traffic, and then he told the traffic on this street to go, and all of a sudden the traffic started right away, and then he stopped the traffic. And now a light car, small sedan, in back of it was a bigger minivan. Sedan stops faster than minivan. But the cop started it and then abruptly stopped. Only a couple cars made turns from the parking lot. Only a couple cars moved on Manheim. And then he held it up, stopped it immediately. It was like less than 30 seconds. And I was back there, but I keep my spacing. I had to slam on my brakes too. But because I keep my distance, I didn't hit anyone. But anyways, the car in front of me, the minivan, slid and hit the car in front of them. And you say minivan's fault. The ground was icy in that. The cop wasn't like a stoplight. He halted traffic without notice. When you're directing traffic, you got to give people time to slow down, like a yellow light. He went from green light to red light instantly. Boom! And was in a minivan, and the minivan was older, and I assume the person was more economically challenged too. Didn't need the accident, didn't need the crisis in their life. And the Rosemont cop, so when I went in, because they pulled up, I went in, pulled into the Potbelly lot, walked to the street, and I reamed the fuck out of the cop. He didn't say a word to me. I told him, you caused the accident. You should be getting the ticket. You're the fucking asshole here. That person did nothing wrong. Yes, they hit that car, but you caused it. They can't respond as fast. It's a slick street. You're not supposed to say go, then stop instantly. You tell them to go, and then you stop them. You can't do that crazy shit. And I'm like, and they're exchanging information. I'm like, I'll testify against the cop. Fucking piece of shit. And I offered it up. And I gave the cop all my peace of mind. And he didn't say anything. And why? He kind of went small. Because he was in the wrong. It's just like what's happening to me now. You're all in the wrong. You're pieces of fucking garbage. You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, but you're making decisions for this fucking country. And indirect, the most powerful country in the world, the richest country in the world, the country that actually has the most consumption in the world, you're making those decisions, and you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. No fucking clue. But you want to voice your opinion. And that's the adage. Everybody has an asshole. Which male and females do. One thing, everybody has assholes. So, you make an ass out of yourself. So again, you have no idea what you're talking about. You churned over the population. You have these people that haven't grown up in this heritage, that don't understand it, haven't studied it since childhood, and they're making decisions on the direction of the fucking country with no fucking idea what the fuck they're talking about. So go out there and make your vote. You dumbass motherfucker. Or, as the commercial says, Dumas. But in English, dumbass. In French, Dumas. And the commercial's right. The way you pronounce it in French is Dumas. But in English, he was right. Dumbass. And he says, Mr. Dumbass? And he's, well, nope, it's Dumas. Well, in English, it's pronounced dumbass. In French, it's pronounced Dumas. But the commercial teaches you how you see the words, meaning their origins. Do you see it as a French origin? Then the pronunciation is Dumas. If you see it as an English origin, the pronunciation is dumbass. Both of them are right. What is the indicator saying it's not dumbass, it's Dumas? We don't only say this is a French origin, not an English origin spelling. That's what makes English so difficult. because it's such a mutt language, we keep on adding things in from everybody else's languages, making it very difficult. And you know what that does to the legal system? That gives lawyers a lot of gray. Oh yeah, you know that? How things are interpreted. So lawyers get a lot of